Autumn is finally on the way and I am so excited. I couldn't be happier. And so in today's video, I'm going to be giving you some book recommendations of books that give you those cozy, autumn, witchy, Halloweeny vibes. And also I'm going to be letting you know the books that are on my TBR list for the season. Hello everyone, I hope you're well and that you've had a good week. For those of you who don't know me, hello, my name is Charlene and this is my little YouTube channel where I talk mainly about books, but also with a little bit of travel and lifestyle as well. And today I am so excited because autumn is on the way, which means I get to talk to you about all of my favourite spooky, seasonal, October-y reads. So I'm going to be giving you some book recommendations to bring those cozy witchy vibes, and also I'm going to be letting you know the books that are on my TBR list this season, and I'm just all round so excited. I am an autumn girl, or fall as the Americans call it. I am an autumn girl. I am born in the autumn. I have loved autumn for my whole entire life. When I was younger and everyone was like looking up to Barbie and things like that, I thought I was Wednesday Addams. So that just kind of shows the type of person that I am, but I absolutely love it. I love everything about autumn. I love that the temperatures are starting to cool down. I love that my hay fever is going away. I love seeing the leaves fall from the trees and it being like all beautiful, like lovely coloured leaves all over the floor. I love seeing the conkers. I love the pumpkins and all of the Halloween decor starting to come out. I just love it all. I love everything about it. I'm also a bit of a spooky girl. I like witchy stuff. I like horror things. And so I'm super excited for this time of year to be coming. I know some people have like seasonal depression and I feel like I'm completely the opposite. Like I feel like as soon as the summer is gone, I come into my own in the autumn. Genuinely, that's when I feel the best. I feel the happiest and most relaxed and at peace. Like I am not a summer girly at all. If you are, good for you, but I am really not. So I'm so excited to see the first signs of autumn. I have grabbed myself a hot drink in my favourite little pumpkin mug, and I've also lit some candles for the cozy vibes, and I just thought today that we'd have good chat about all things bookish and autumnal. Are any of you guys the same as me? Like I know generally when we're growing up, everybody loves summer and looks forward to summer coming, and even now like people like rush to the beer gardens and all of that, but I'm like, oh no, like I don't like to be hot, I don't like wearing summer clothes, I don't like having hay fever, I am not a summer person at all. But the second the autumn starts to kick in, I'm like, I feel like snuggling down and I feel all warm and cozy and happy, and I feel like from September onwards that's where everything good starts happening in the year. Like September is mine and my husband's birthday. Obviously you've got October, which is Halloween, and you get all of the lovely like Halloween vibes, all the cozy pumpkin things everywhere and things like that. And then you've got November, and then obviously December is Christmas. So these last 4 months of the year are by far my favourite, and I absolutely cannot wait for it all. Like if autumn has 5 fans, I'm 4 of them. Like that's how I feel. Like I love autumn so much, and I just absolutely can't wait to start getting involved in all of those cozy little hobbies. Okay, so I'm going to start first of all with my book recommendations for you guys, and I've broken these down in a couple of different categories because I realise that not everybody wants to get into those kind of like spooky, witchy, Halloweeny vibes this time of year. Sometimes some people just want to get cozy and have a couple of books that's really like nice and heartwarming and a good cozy read. So that's my first category, and I want to start with Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. I hope that I'm pronouncing that name okay. But this is a book that I can't remember if I read this or last year, but it's a really heartwarming, cozy, easy read. It's quite a short book as well, so it's one of those that like you could definitely get through in a day or in a weekend if you really wanted to just snuggle down. The weather's rubbish and grey outside and you just want to snuggle down and get into a book. I feel like this is a really good one. A nice hot cup of coffee and reading this book gives you the most perfect cozy vibes. So let me start with reading you the blurb. In a small back alley in Tokyo, there is a cafe which has been serving carefully brewed coffee for more than 100 years. But this coffee shop offers its customers a unique experience, the chance to travel back in time. In Before the Coffee Gets Cold, we meet 4 visitors, each of whom is hoping to make use of the cafe's time-travelling offer in order to confront the man who left them, receive a letter from their husband whose memory has begun to fade, see their sister one last time, and meet the daughter they never got the chance to know. But the journey into the past does not come without risks. Customers must sit in a particular seat, they cannot leave the cafe, and finally they must return to the present before the coffee gets cold. Toshikazu Kawaguchi's beautiful, moving story explores the age-old question, what would you do if you could travel back in time? More importantly, who would you want to meet, maybe for one last time? Oh my gosh. And also it's translated from Japanese by Jeffrey Trusselot. I've probably pronounced that name wrong, but it's important to say who it was translated by. I love a translated book. I've said this before in some of my other videos, but I really feel like, I'm not sure why it is, but with translated books, especially from like Korean or Japanese, I feel like there's just a vibe that we don't have with our books for some reason. There's just a tone to them, and I couldn't even put my finger on what that is. But I absolutely adored this book. This was really, really heartwarming. The blurb kind of touched on it there, but it's broken down into 4 different stories. They all tie together, and the people that work at the cafe and all of those things are the same. But basically, each of the 4 different stories are 4 different customers that come in to use the time traveling for different purposes, as the blurb just said there. And each of the stories are really, really heartwarming. The one that I think, looking back at the blurb there, the one that really touched me the most was the person, there's a storyline with a woman whose husband is losing their memory. And honestly, each of the stories in here, they're all very emotional, they're all very heartwarming, but that one in particular really, really got me. I feel like this is thought-provoking as well, because it naturally makes everybody who read this think, like, if I had that option to travel back in time, who would I speak to, and what would I say, and what would I do? And I feel like it's really emotional. I recommended my husband and my mother-in-law to read this, and they all absolutely loved it as well. It's so very heartwarming. I know I keep saying that, but it is. It's like a hug from the inside. It's heartwarming, it's cozy, it's like a big cup of coffee in a book, and it's short. It is only 213 pages, and I would very highly recommend you to read this book if you're looking for those cozy, autumny vibes. And my second recommendation within this cozy category is Days at the Murasaki Bookshop by Satoshi Yakisawa. Let me start with reading you the blurb. From the beginning of summer to early spring, I lived at the Murasaki Bookshop. I spent that period of my life in the spare room on the 2nd floor of the store, trying to bury myself in books. The cramped room barely got any light and everything felt damp. It smelled constantly of musty old books. But I will always remember the days I spent there, because that's where my real life began. And I know without a doubt that if it not for those days, the rest of my life would have been bland, monotonous and lonely. The Murasaki Bookshop is precious to me. It's a place I know I'll never forget. This is very much like Before the Coffee Gets Cold. It falls within that translated book category, and it gives those same kind of heartwarming, cozy vibes. Also, as a reader and somebody who loves books myself, I love books that are about books, or about like libraries or people who love reading and things like this. And this book really kind of fills that little itch that I have. It's such a cute and cozy read. I don't want to tell you too much about the storyline, but it's basically about this little bookshop in Tokyo, and the main character, I can't remember her name, Takako? I think it's Takako. She is living in a city, and she's in a relationship with her boyfriend when he suddenly tells her that he's going to marry someone else. And her life completely falls apart because she's putting everything into her life into this relationship. And at that same time, her uncle calls her and says that, like, I need some help here in the bookshop. Would you consider coming to live here? And she's kind of like, I don't really want to, but why not? Because right now I have nothing else really going on. So she's not really that up for it. She's not a big reader at this stage, and she goes to live with her uncle in a tiny room above the bookshop, which has been in the family for generations. And slowly over time, she learns to love these books, and she learns to love the bookshop and the smell of those those kind of dusty old books, and she makes these relationships that are formed in the bookshop, and it's just such a lovely cozy read. It's about her life with the books and reading, and her growing love for them, and how she feels that she can like lose herself in these books. But it's also about her life in Tokyo with her uncle and her well, I guess you would say her aunt, but her uncle's wife. And it's just such a lovely story. It's really, really heartwarming. It's quite an easy read. It's quite slow paced, and it's just like a really calm, chill, cozy book. So if you're looking for those kind of vibes, then I would highly recommend you to read Days at the Murasaki Bookshop. So my next category of recommendations is more of those kind of Halloweeny, autumny, spooky vibes. They're not all scary by any means. It just gives you those kind of like a little bit more Halloweeny vibes than the other books that I was just talking about. So I want to start off with a book called The Witching Hour, and this is by Sid Moore. So let me just read you the blurb on this one very quickly. 2 centuries separate them, one house will bring them together. After relocating to a coastal town, widowed teacher Sarah Gray is slowly rebuilding her life, along with her young son Alfie. But following an inadvertent seance one drunken night, her world is shaken when she starts to experience frightening visions. She tries to explain them away, but Alfie sees them too, and Sarah believes that they have become the targets of a haunting attack. Convinced at the ghost of a 19th century witch, Sarah delves into folklore and learns that the witch was thought to have been evil incarnate. And when a series of old letters surface, Sarah discovers that nothing is as it seems, not even the ghost who haunts her very home. So this one, if you don't know me, then you won't know, but if you do, you'll definitely will know. I love witchy books. I love anything to do with witches. I think that the vibe is so cool. I just love those kind of vibes. And this book is like got that creepiness to it, but it also, to be honest with you, when I was reading it, there are a couple of minutes that I was actually kind of scared reading this. There are a few things that happen, and then you put it down before bed and you're like, it's like just checking everything's okay, because you know it kind of like plays on your mind a little bit. There were a couple of very like scary bits. There were a couple of jumpy bits. If you like those kind of stories that are about hauntings and about witchy things and things like that, you're gonna love this. But other than that, it's actually a very, very interesting book as well. The characters in it have a really interesting connection, and the story unfolds in a really unexpected way. And I just love how, I'm not going to give the ending away, but I love how in the end it feels like justice has been made, and I absolutely loved that. So if you're looking for those kind of spooky witchy vibes, I would recommend The Witching Hour by Sid Moore. And the next one in this little section is If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. To be honest, I struggled to pick between this one and The Secret History by Donna Tartt. The Secret History is one of my favourite, if not my favourite books. But I thought between the two, I feel like this is a little more of an easier read, and I feel like more people are probably going to take to this book than The Secret History. But I also would recommend The Secret History as well. But If We Were Villains and The Secret History are both dark academia books, and nothing gives me more like autumny, Octobery vibes than dark academia. It is absolutely one of my favourite genres, and I just love reading dark academia so, so much. And this book very much falls within that category. So let me just read you the blurb. Oliver Marks has just served 10 years for a murder he may or may not have committed. On the day of his release, he is greeted by the detective who put him in prison, Detective Colborne. He is retiring and he wants to know what really happened a decade before. As a young actor and at an elite conservatory, Oliver noticed that his talented classmates seemed to play the same characters on stage and off, villain, hero, temptress, though he was always a supporting role. But when the teachers change the casting, a good-natured rivalry turns ugly, and the play spills dangerously over into real life. When tragedy strikes, one of the 7 friends is found dead. The rest face their greatest acting challenge yet, convincing the police and themselves that they are blameless. I love this book so much. I've only recently read this, I would say within the last maybe 3 months, and I also love The Secret History so much. I probably love The Secret History more, but both of them are a straight 5 out of 5 for me. They are kind of similar in the tone of the book, and they're similar kind of in story. It's just The Secret History focuses a little bit more on Greek theology and Greek language and things like that, which I think gives it that little bit more harder to read edge to it. Whereas this book focuses more on like drama students and Shakespearean and things like that. And I absolutely loved this book start to finish. It is about a group of friends who are at an elite school, all studying Shakespearean, so they're very, very dramatic people. Something happens within the friendship group, and from there they are all really struggling to come to terms with what's happened, and also to try and be as guiltless and blameless as they can possibly be. That's all I want to tell you without giving too much away, but I love the Shakespearean nature to it. I love those dark academia vibes. The setting in my head is like perfect in autumn, and it's just a really, really good book. It's not a short book by any means. It is, where are we at? I think it's around 422 pages, but it's so cleverly written. It's so interesting. It's filled with those twists and turns, if you like thrillers, those kind of things, but it's got that dark academia edge to it, and I just absolutely loved reading this, and I feel like this gives you proper autumn vibes. So if that's the kind of thing you're looking for, I would very much recommend If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. The next book in this category that I wanted to talk about, it gives you a little bit more like straight up horror vibes, and that is The Shining by Stephen King. Again, this has been one of my most recent reads, and I can't believe it's taken me until now to get to it. Like, how has that happened? I have no idea. But let me start with reading you the blurb. Danny is only 5 years old, but in the words of old Mr. Halloran, he is a shiner, aglow with psychic voltage. When his father becomes caretaker of the Overlook Hotel, Danny's visions grow out of control. But as winter closes in and the blizzards cut them off, the empty hotel seems to develop a life of its own. Why are masked guests riding in the elevator, and who is the lady in room 217? Somewhere, somehow, there is an evil force in the hotel, and that too is beginning to shine. So I feel like whether you've read this book or not, we all know a little bit about The Shining. Before recently reading this, I hadn't either read it or seen the film, but you know, we all see clips of it on TV and things like that. And so I built up an image in my head of what the story was going to be and all of those famous clips that we see on TV. But actually, when I read The Shining, it was so much more than I expected it to be. I didn't know that it was so much about a supernatural element. I thought it was all just about a caretaker going mental, but it's kind of about that. But it's also got so many supernatural elements, and the way that builds and grows is so interesting. The vibes and the images in my mind that I conjured up during reading this book was it's so fascinating, and I absolutely loved reading it. Another thing that I think would make this a really good thing to read at this time of year is the setting of the book. They're in a hotel which has been closed for the winter season, and there is a huge snowfall, which means they're basically snowed into this building and they can't leave, and it's all very dark and it's snowing the whole time. And just those settings alone is enough to make me want to read this within the autumn and winter time. I feel like this gives you really good kind of winter vibes, horror vibes. It's scary, it's interesting, it's about ghostly things, supernatural things. So if that is your vibe, I would highly recommend The Shining by Stephen King. The next book in this category is a little bit more of a curveball, but I have to talk about it because I absolutely loved reading it, and it's just perfect for this time of year. And that is Victorian Psycho by Virginia Fito. I don't know if it's Fito or Fito, but I'd say Fito. So let me start with reading you the blurb. England 1800s. Winifred Notty arrives at Enza House prepared to play the perfect Victorian governess. She'll dutifully tutor her charges, tell them bedtime stories, and only joke about eating children. But the longer Winifred spends within the estate's dreary confines, and the more she learns of the perversions and pathetic preoccupations of the Pounds family, the more trouble she has sticking to her plan. Whether creeping across the moonlit lawns in her undergarments or gently tormenting the house staff, Winifred struggles at every turn to stifle the horrid compulsions of her past. That is until her chillingly dark imagination breaks the feeble boundary of reality one Christmas morning. This, honestly, I feel like I talk about this book really often, and I probably do, but because this is something I've never read before. The story is absolutely wild. The character of Winifred Notty, or Miss Notty, is absolutely wild. She's a character I have never met in another book before. The blurb says there, it's set in the 1800s, and Winifred Notty is like a governess. So she is somebody that moves into somebody's home to look after the house and their children. And she is not the character at all that you would expect from that time period or from a book speaking about a character like that. She is absolutely wild. Like, she is the only character I think I've ever met that is filled with like this rage and darkness and weirdness, and she knows it and she loves it and she doesn't care. She's like, yeah, I'm weird, I'm dark, like it is what it is. And she always talks about this darkness moving within her and that she can feel it coming. And it's just, some of the things she does are so shocking and so weird that, like, I'm not sure this book is for everyone, but if you like something that's a little bit out there and a little bit shocking, like, it's disgusting in places, don't get me wrong, and some of the things she does are absolutely, like, absolutely not okay, but I just found this book so interesting. It's only 192 pages, so it's a relatively short book. You can get this done in a weekend. But if you're looking for something really different, that's kind of like darkly feminist in a weird way, and has got that like really weird, like tense atmosphere and that edge to it, then I really highly recommend Victorian Psycho. It's like nothing I've ever read before, and I thoroughly enjoyed reading it. It made me feel weird and it made me feel on edge, but I, at the same time, like, I found it so interesting. And that is Victorian Psycho by Virginia Fito. And the last book recommendation that I have in this category is definitely something that I talk about all the time, and that is The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix. And if you know me at all, you'll know how much I love this book. Firstly, it's got a great flop, and I really appreciate that. Like, I feel like in the UK, we don't have many books that have got good flops. Like, it looks like books in America have got much better flops. But other than that, this is the perfect book to read around Halloween. Firstly, as well, I love the cover, and let me just read you the blurb because you'll understand why you have to read this around this time of year. Patricia Campbell's life has never felt smaller. Her husband is a workaholic, her teenage kids have their own lives, her senile mother-in-law needs constant care, and she's always a step behind on her endless to-do list. The only thing keeping her sane is her book club, a close-knit group of Charleston women united by their love of true crime. Then James Harris walks into her life during the summer of 1993. He makes her feel things she hasn't felt in years, but when children on the other side of town go missing, Patricia wonders if he's connected. Is he a Brad Pitt, a Bundy, or something much worse? So I already said that I love it when books talk about books, like when they talk about libraries or book clubs or reading or whatever. I love those vibes. It's just really super cozy for me. But also, I had such a great time when I was reading this book. It is a horror book. Grady Hendrix is a horror writer, but it was so entertaining. Yes, there are elements of it that are scarier in places. Yes, there are really gory bits. So if you're not a gore person, maybe this one isn't for you. But there are those bits. But if you like those things, or if you're a horror film girly, then you'll absolutely love this. It's I can't really even say too much more than that, but if you look at the blood dripping down off that peach, you will maybe figure out what the book is about. But it's great. It's a horror book, it's easy to read, it's entertaining. For a horror, it's quite light as well, and I just had such a good time reading this book. I absolutely devoured it. I got through it really quickly. It's not even that long. I think it's, how long is it? Oh, okay, maybe it is. It's like around 400 pages long. But I got through this pretty quickly because I loved reading it so much. It gives you those autumn vibes, those Halloween vibes. It's creepy, it's scary, it's gory, just a really fun read. So if you're a horror film person, I would highly recommend that you read The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix. So we're through my recommendations now, and I've got two from my husband as well. He said, when I said what I was doing in this video, he was like, oh, amazing, I've got a couple of recommendations for people who want to read stuff in kind of like the scary season. So I thought that was super cute. So I've included a couple of recommendations from him. This first one I would absolutely agree with, and that is The Only One Left by Riley Sager. Riley Sager is a very much loved author in this house. Me, my husband, and my mother-in-law all love Riley Sager. And I think of all of the books of his that we've all read, this is the one we agree on is our favourite, and that is The Only One Left. So let me just read you the blurb. a heart-pounding gothic thriller from the master of suspense. Everyone believes that Lenora Hope is a mass murderer. When the Hope family was massacred decades ago, she was the only one left alive after that tragic night. Mute, paralysed and confined to a wheelchair, Lenora has never been able to tell her side of the story, until her new live-in carer Kit brings her a typewriter, and with one working finger Lenora begins to type, "I want to tell you everything." Oh, even just reading the blurb gives me like tingles because it was such a great book. If you like something with twists and turns, I don't know that you will find a book more full of twists and turns than this one. Honestly, at the very beginning, the way the story ends up is like nothing I would have imagined. It's so entertaining. It is a little bit creepy, a little bit scary. The vibes of it are so great. Like, this is about an abandoned old house that sits on a cliff edge which is battered by the sea, and just like even those kind of like images in my mind just gives me such like autumn horror vibes. But the book itself is super interesting. We love Riley Sager's writing. It's always very dramatic, always full of twists and turns, always keeps you interested the whole way through. So I would highly agree that that is a very good recommendation. And that is The Only One Left by Riley Sager. And the second recommendation from my husband is Monstrilio. And this, oh gosh, bear with me, is by Gerardo Samano Cordova. I hope I pronounced that okay. So he read this fairly recently and it looks very cool. Also got a great flop as well. But once he read this book, he told me what it was about and I was like, whoa, that sounds so out there. Like if you thought Victorian Psycho was out there, this is even more out there, but let me read you the blurb. Grieving mother Magos cuts a piece of her deceased 11-year-old son Santiago's lung. Acting on fierce maternal instinct and the dubious logic of an old folktale, she nurtures the lung until it gains sentience, growing into a carnivorous little monstrillo she keeps hidden within the walls of her family's decaying Mexico City estate. Eventually, Monstrillo begins to resemble the Santiago he once was, but his innate impulses, though curbed by his biological and chosen family's communal care, threaten to destroy this fragile second chance at life. A thought-provoking meditation on grief, acceptance, and the monstrous sides of love and loyalty. Gerardo Samano Cordova blends bold imagination and evocative prose with deep emotional rigour. Told in 4 acts that span the globe from Mexico to Brooklyn to Berlin to Monstrillo, it offers uncanny clarity, a cathartic and precise portrait of being human. That blurb sounds very good and very interesting. The parts of it my husband told me, I feel like I know too much about it now to read it, but the parts of it my husband told me were wild. They were so out there and the story sounds absolutely, yeah, just wild is all I can say. But he absolutely loved this story and he just talks about it all the time. So if you fancy something weird to read, then he would recommend Monstrillo. It smells so nice in here because I've had these candles burning the whole time and they're just, the scents are combining and it just smells so autumnal and lovely and cozy. And I've got my drink here, which I've been sipping on in between clips, and it just, oh, I love it so much. But let me get to the books that are on my October TBR list. I say October TBR list, there's no way, also we've still got September to come yet, but there's no way I'm going to read all of these in 1 month. These are the books that I want to read within the kind of cozy autumn spooky season. So the ones that I've got to go through are Carrie by Stephen King. This is one that I've recently picked up. Pretty short story for a Stephen King novel, and one that I can't believe I've not already read. So very quickly, here is the blurb. Carrie White has a gift, the gift of telekinesis. She can move things with her mind. To be invited to prom night by Tommy Ross is a dream come true for Carrie, the first step towards social acceptance by her high school colleagues. But events will take a decidedly macabre turn on that horrifying and endless night as she is forced to exercise her terrible gift on the town that mocks and loathes her. Stephen King's legendary debut is a timeless classic. This edition is published with new cover for the 50th anniversary. So I can't believe that I've not read this yet. It's quite a short book, like I said, and one that I definitely think will be great for this time of year. So that's the first one. Secondly, we have Middle of the Night by Riley Sager. I told you Riley Sager is a very much loved author in this house, and I haven't got to this book just yet, but I'm hoping to. The blurb is very small, so let me read it to you. On July 15th, 1994, 10-year-old Ethan fell asleep in a tent next to his best friend Billy. In the morning, Ethan woke up alone. Billy was never seen again. 30 years later, Ethan has returned to his childhood home, still desperate for answers. Who took Billy? Plagued by bad dreams and insomnia, he begins to notice strange things happening on his street under the cover of darkness. Someone is prowling the cul-de-sac when no one is awake to see them. Is the culprit still out there? This isn't a bad neighbourhood. These aren't bad people, but what if they are? Ooh. So yeah, that's another one I can't wait to get to. Like I said, we love Riley Sager and his writing and his storytelling and his plot twists, so can't wait for that one. Another one, and this will be no surprise when you realise how much I loved Victorian Psycho, and that is Mrs. March by Virginia Fito. So let me read you. Also, like, I love all of her covers. They're so, like, different and out there. But let me read you the blurb here. Mrs. March lives an exquisitely controlled existence. The wealthy wife of a novelist, her life is one of routine and decorum. But one morning, on a visit to her favourite patisserie, Mrs. March suffers a horrifying indignity. The shopkeeper remarks that the detestable protagonist of George March's latest novel must surely be based on Mrs. March herself. The humiliation is too much. She has been robbed not only of her beloved patisserie, which she will never visit again, but of the belief in everything she thought she knew about her husband and herself. Thus begins an increasingly paranoid journey, one that may well uncover both a killer and some long-buried secrets from Mrs. March's past. I love this. This sounds like it's going to be right up my street. And another thing that I forgot to say about Victorian Psycho is got like a dark comedy element, like dark humour. And by the sounds of the blurb, this does as well. So I can't wait to get around to that one. And the next one on my TBR is, and it has been on my TBR for ages to be fair, and that is Wayward by Amelia Hart. Another witchy book, which you know I absolutely love, but I love that on the cover it says, men invented the word witch, we call ourselves wayward. Love it. So, the blurb. 3 women, 5 centuries, one spellbinding story. In the present day, Kate flees a traumatic relationship to the Cumbrian cottage she inherited from her great aunt, but the cottage hides secrets of its own. In 1942, Violet rebels against her father's ideas of a proper young lady, until he takes matters into his own hands. In 1619, Altha is on trial for witchcraft, implicated in the gruesome death of a local man. 3 women they try to cage, but wayward women belong to the wild, and they cannot be tamed. Ah! That sounds so good. I love witchy stuff, and that sounds so interesting. And I just love that it sounds like all of those women's stories are connected. Sorry if you can hear scratching in the background. My cat is right next to me using his scratching post. A black cat while I'm talking about this. It's perfect. But yes, I've wanted to read this for ages, and I don't know why I haven't got to it yet. But I'm kind of glad that I haven't, because it's going to be perfect for this time of year. And then the last book on my seasonal TBR is one that I just randomly picked up. I saw in Waterstones, and to be completely honest, I did get this because I liked the cover, which I know is the entire reason to not buy books, but here we are. And that is Odd Spirits by St. Gibson. So this one, first of all, look at the cover. Stunning. Absolutely beautiful. Seems like a very short story as well. Let me see pages. Oh, come on. Come on, pages. Oh, the book's not turning into pages. Come on, come on. 115. So perfect. I can get through this in a day. So let me read you the blurb. When newly married Reese and Moira start experiencing malevolent spirit activity in their home, they do everything within their power to rid themselves of the entity. As a modern ceremonial sorcerer and a tarot reading witch, this should be exactly their forte, but every quick fix spell is met with failure as the strange occurrences continue to escalate. Left with no other option, the couple turn to Reese's secret society for help. Unfortunately, help comes from none other than Reese's psychic ex-boyfriend David, whose devil-may-care attitude is the last thing this marriage in trouble needs. Tensions run high amidst supernatural chaos and clash of magical styles, and Reese and Moira's love is pushed to its limits. With everything that is dear to them on the line, Reese and Moira will have to pull from their deepest wells of magic to survive, and most frighteningly of all, they will have to remember how to trust each other. That sounds so interesting to me. Very, very, very much perfect for this Halloweeny time of year. And flicking through as well, it looks like it's got some really interesting little elements to the book as well. So very much looking forward to reading it. And that is the last one on my seasonal TBR list. But that is also not to say that other ones might not sneak in there at some other point. So you guys will have to let me know what's on your seasonal Halloweeny October TBR. What are you reading as the weather starts to cool down and the leaves start falling and it's all getting cozy? Do you have any recommendations for me? Will you pick up any of these books? Are you kind of inspired to read any of them? You'll have to let me know. I'd really be open to some good book recommendations, so please do let me know. I'd love to chat to you in the comments as well, as always. If you've enjoyed watching this video and you've enjoyed talking about these lovely cozy autumny things, I'd love you forever if you would like my little video and you would subscribe to my channel. That would mean the absolute world to me. Thank you as always for watching. I absolutely love talking about books and doing these videos, and I'm coming into my time of year where I'm going to be feeling like the truest version of myself, so I absolutely can't wait to do more videos around this subject matter. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Thank you, bye bye.